Hello, this is Dave with Built Not Wished. And I want to get up close and personal with you right now. And I want to talk to you about something. You know, I've built a card system that I've used. I've had several other people use, professionals. And I just want to talk about that card system for just a minute. Okay, I don't want to really talk about the card system, how the card system came to be. I've known some things, and I've done some things. Not that I'm an expert at anything, because I'm not. For years, for 25 years, I've used a Franklin Covey planning system in the daily planners for work. I'm at the Monarch stage now, so it's the big one. 2 pages per day. And I developed a Built Not Wished card system from that system that I was using at work every day. Because then I started and this is what I started repeating some tasks that I knew I had to do every day. And guess what? I still write them down. And it's gratifying when I get those tasks done that I know I need to do every day. But then when I check them off, that's kind of gratifying to me. And I don't understand how that works. But I've quoted some neuroscience on this podcast before, and there's neuroscience that backs this up. You know, and I want to be real clear. I don't want to be like all of these content creators that blast the stuff about repeat anything and it'll happen. Just think about it over and over and over again. There's a speck of truth in that. You know, neuroscience, there's studies, but they're very nuanced about what they're saying. There's the neurons fire together, wire together. And I know I've had an episode on rewiring your brain. That's where this comes from. And it ties right back to the Built Not Wished card system. But what I find interesting about these studies, and I want to pull this up, it's from Oxford University Publishing, academics. It matters what you repeat to yourself. So you got to say more than just, okay, I want to be a millionaire every day, 3 times a day, and it's going to happen. That's not what the study says. The study does say that repeated fearful thoughts strengthens fear pathways. Repeated confident thoughts strengthen confident related neural pathways. And repeated behavior became habit when the underlying neural networks became more efficient. So, yes, repetition can change brain activity. Now, I want to be real clear. You know, I hear all this stuff about just all this stuff about self-affirmation. Again, Oxford University Publishing. In 2016, they did a study with an MRI study, found that self-affirmation activates regions associated with self-relevance and reward processing, particularly the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which means nothing to me. I want to be clear, I'm not a neuroscientist. I know it's somewhere up here, okay? And that's an area involved in evaluating personal value and future-oriented thinking. So I've talked about self-identity. And research concluded that self-affirmation engages neural systems involved in self-identity, in personal value, in rewarding processing, and future planning. Sounds like stuff we want to do here. That's why repeatedly reflecting on meaningful values can influence motivation and behavior, according to Oxford University. There's another study, and this was published in the Medical Journal of Medicine, a meta-analysis examining self-affirmation intervention found measurable effects on intentions and behavior, particularly when people were confronted with information requiring change. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? In other words, affirming core values can make people more receptive to acting differently. So this is the important part that I want you to get. The strongest research supports is not for repeating, I'm rich, or I'm successful. That's not it. The strongest support is for affirmation tied to personal values, tied to identity, tied to meaningful goals and desired behaviors. There are limitations. The brain responds best when statements are believable, and this is key. Hear me out real clearly. The brain has to believe what you're telling it, and it has to be connected to action. That's where the cards come in. There was another I want to talk about. The other reason I use my Franklin Covey planner for 25, 30 years, somewhere in there, I've never understood why. I've tried using just a laptop and the laptop calendar and can't get it done. One, it's a habit of mine, right? But listen to this. Neuroscience has also discovered a group called the Mueller and Oppenheimer study from 2014. One of the most cited studies was conducted by Pam Mueller and Daniel Oppenheimer. Their research found that students who took notes by hand, writing it out, consistently remembered concepts better than students who typed notes on laptops. I have living proof of this. I can't tell you the number of times all the young bucks would come to me after a meeting that was a month previous and said, hey, in that meeting, did they say this or did they say that? And I can flip back in my Franklin Covey planner to the notes and say, this is what they said. Okay, thank you, Dave. Handwriting is important. There's a reason. It's neuroscience. Handwriting is important. I have other things. There was a Norwegian neuroscience research started in 2020, ended in 2024. They used EEG brain monitoring to compare handwriting versus typing. And they found that handwriting produced significantly more synchronized activity across multiple brain regions involved in learning, memory, attention, and information integration. And why does handwriting help commitment? It's called the generation effect. demonstrates that people remember information better when they generate it themselves rather than simply reading it. So writing something down requires a decision, creates ownership, increases mental investment, and forms a stronger memory trace. Then there's the reticular activating system, or RAS. Acts as a filter that determines what information receives conscious attention. So when you write a goal plan or commitment, you signal to the brain that the information is important. As a result, the RAS begins noticing opportunities, patterns, and resources connected to what was written. This is one reason people often report seeing opportunities they've previously missed, or becoming more focused, or remembering priorities more consistently after writing goals by hand. So if you want to remember something, read it, say it out loud, write it down in your own words, and then review what you wrote. And if you want to commit to something, write the goal by hand. Write the goal by hand. State why it matters. Sign and date it. Date. And review it daily. One card, one day. Different card the next day. Because the act of handwriting transforms an idea from a passing thought into a physical and neurological commitment. So I'm going to leave you with this. Neuroscience shows writing by hand engages multiple brain symptoms simultaneously, creating stronger memory paths, more so than typing or reading aloud even. Every stroke of the pen requires thought, movement, vision, and attention to work together. So as a result, handwritten information is remembered more clearly, understood more deeply, and often embraced more personally. What the hand writes, the brain is more likely to retain, and the heart is more likely to own. This isn't new stuff. This has been around for eons. And just to prove it to you, I would ask you to grab a Bible. Look up Deuteronomy 6:6-9. I'm going to paraphrase it right here, right now, saying, hey, look, these rules that we're giving you, these laws, these commandments, write them on your doorposts. Write them on your doorposts. Write them on your heart. Even thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, they understood that writing was important. If you don't want to stick to Deuteronomy, go to Habakkuk 2:2. It says the same thing. Or go to Proverbs 3:1-3. Talks about the same thing. So long before neuroscience could explain why it works, we knew it worked. And so does the built not wish card system. Thanks.